Welcome to Safety Chats, a podcast from Portside Safety and Compliance by Baldwin. Each episode brings real-world experience, practical insight, and honest conversations about safety in aviation and beyond. Let's get started with this week's Safety Chat.
Hey, welcome everybody to Baldwin Safety Chat podcast. I know it's been a while since we've been on the air. A lot of changes going down at the Baldwin/Portside Safety. And we thought we were going to spin this back up, but we have new hosts that are going to be taking this over. Maybe they'll invite me on every now and again. We have Anne-Marie Sollazzo and Todd Thomas, safety managers at Baldwin Safety and Compliance. Why don't you guys say hi, introduce yourselves, and get to know the folks.
All right, I will take the lead here. My name is Anne-Marie Sollazzo, and I am Senior Safety Manager at Portside/Baldwin Safety and Compliance. And I handle the Safety Performance Monitoring Program, the Safety Mentoring Program, and I am also Virtual Safety Manager. So I'm going to just elaborate on what the SPMP is, Safety Performance Monitoring Program. That is to make sure that clients who subscribe to that program are basically Part 5 compliant, and we also have an SPMP standard that we go by as a guideline, and we do an annual audit. And when we pass that audit, or if we have any findings, the end result is a statement of compliance for their program. And we do that annually. And then the safety mentoring, I have a few clients that I actually work one-on-one with their safety managers. It depends on the length of it. It's usually a year-long process, and they will become experts on their portal as well as their regulations that they're working under. So if it's Part 5 or Canadian, that's what I'm doing with those programs.
Hi, I'm Todd Thomas. I'm a fellow senior safety manager, and I'm over standards. And so that encompasses all of our products, our manual products, mainly our IEP. I make sure that we keep those right in line with the current regulations that are out there. So that's my primary focus has been in that area. But I also have recently, within the last 6 to 9 months, we started an ASAP facilitator program, which we have approximately 7 clients now. And so we are assisting operators with their ASAP program in various ways, mainly with their ERC, or the Event Review Committee. I help them in that area as well. And I have been active in our Alaska program, where we have numerous clients up in Alaska. Yep, that's basically what I'm doing these days.
All right. Part of this intro podcast is what we want to go over, what we're going to be covering and how we're going to be covering it in the near future. So there might be conversations kind of like this between me and Todd and a guest, but we're also going to talk about things that are going on in the industry, some higher level stuff, but also what we observe during our day-to-day. In our day-to-day, we can look at things like any trends we're seeing in our exposure to our clients that we're working with, or if there's anything that's a hot topic, if we go to any conventions or something like that. Todd, do you have anything to add to that?
The clientele, maybe just remind everyone, we deal with everywhere from the Part 91s to the Part 135s, Part 145s, Part 121. So we cover a wide range. Our clients cover all of those type of operations. It can be a challenge, but we certainly enjoy, and we've got people with experience from all of those areas. So on our team, we can pull from experience in the past.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on. We also want to mention the UAS, and I'm actually working with a lot of air medical operations, both fixed wing and rotor. Today's topic is going to be emergency response. Todd, do you want to take over and talk about how you went about creating this topic?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Yeah. Having worked as a director of safety in several operations, I had the responsibility to ensure that we had an emergency response plan in place. So it really comes from that, because I look back on my days in the Part 121 world, and I often felt many times that I wasn't quite as prepared as I should be. And I didn't feel I had the organization to the point I wanted it to be. So that is how this came about. It's just trying to bring ideas forward that we think can help an organization with their emergency response preparation. And the key thing is that you cannot wait, because when an emergency happens, it's too late, as the old saying goes. So we want to just try our best to help you understand things that can be done now, not to put them off, and to help you move forward with a good, solid emergency response plan for your operations.
Great. I agree with you on that. I know from my past experience and from working with operators that emergency response tends to be like the last thing that people are working on, because there is that buildup of building the SMS and building the SMS manual. And by the time you get everybody trained for everything, it's like, okay, here's your ERP, let's do a drill. And you kind of run out of steam, especially if you are a newer safety manager and you're really learning the system. It's kind of like one of those things that just, it gets really at the point of everybody's trained out almost.
That's a great point. Yeah, and Anne-Marie, I saw that many times in the organizations that I was with. And you're right. And unfortunately, it seemed to me like the safety, when it came to the safety department, things coming out of the safety department, they sometimes were pushed to the side a little quicker than others. Still can help change that thinking moving forward.
Okay. What are some of those examples that you had for us? I know we had created some bullet points to talk about, so I'll let you field that one.
Well, I think first and foremost is remember that the emergency response is more than just your ERP binder. How many times have we seen people or talked to people where you just get that impression, or you've seen it maybe through on-site inspections or whatever, that it's just they created it and then it's just put on a shelf. So yeah, exactly. So I think the first and foremost is just realizing that it is more than a binder. Again, a lot of times in what we do here at Baldwin in working with clients, we'll find that it's not current, it's not practiced, it's a lot of times not understood by the entire team. And then it's typically not really integrated fully like it should be into their SMS.
Right. And also, you have to think about how many operations might have a parent operation that might have another emergency response plan in place, such as a larger corporation. So
Okay. Yes.
does that tie in to the aviation department's emergency response plan? And has
Yes.
that even been looked at? Has that even been addressed by everyone in the company? So
Right. And we have seen that as well. We've seen where we are concerned a lot of times when we review an ERP, where it doesn't seem like there's that connection with the corporate. There's the corporate flight department, but then they're a part of that larger corporation, like you said. And so it's like there's not that clear integration with the parent organization's crisis or their business continuity plan. That's a big key there for our Part 91 operators. And and then defining those roles for the leadership during an emergency. A lot of times there's confusion on that, right? Between the flight department of that corporation, that Part 91. And then, of course, just the coordinated communication with the executives, any families and external agencies. I mean, all this has got to be managed. It's got to be planned. And so, yeah, these are type of things that we run into quite a bit.
right. I was just thinking back on doing a drill, a tabletop drill, and how they can go a little bit sideways.
Yes. And yes, right. I think, Anne-Marie, you and I have talked about this too, like but we said, even if it does go sideways, don't view it as a negative. Don't get all down on yourself, because that's the whole reason you're doing that exercise, is you want to bring to light where the issues are. You want it now before you get into that real life scenario, which we obviously hope you never have. But anyway, yeah, isn't that true, Emery? We have talked about that. And so the thing is not to take it as a negative. Don't beat yourself up. Definitely do the takeaways and learn from it. And the next drill you have is just going to be that much better.
Right. Now, I always tell clients that when you're doing a drill, make sure, first of all, when you're taking your notes and you want to make sure that you have your audit preparation, making sure you're labeling things properly. So ERP drill, tabletop, big one is lessons learned and any findings that come out of that. Making sure that you have that documented is really important for the organization, because if you do not have those lessons learned written down and there's a repeat performance at your next drill of the same exact thing, you're not going to know where you're having that real big giant gap. So making sure your documentation is in place after the fact of that drill is really important.
That's critical. Yeah, the debrief, some people might know it as, and then break it down. You're exactly right, Anne-Marie, and that is critical because it's all about, we don't already know, right? All of us in safety here in the aviation world it's about documentation. So Anne-Marie is spot on about just ensure that documentation is tight and it's well labeled. It helps you, it'll help the inspectors, it'll help any auditors that come in. Yeah. And again, most importantly is just then do something with that information.
Right. I'm having many flashbacks of conversations with varying people on the pain points of an ERP. And what I mean by pain points is when you have a tough discussion of maybe why you haven't done a drill in a long time, there can be various reasons of why, whether there be changes in personnel, which makes it even more so to have a drill
Yes.
when you have a change in personnel. But it's a difficult topic to actually sit down and talk about the worst case scenario that your operation can have, and possibly that avoidance factor. You're talking about people's lives changing. You're talking about support systems. You're talking about really heavy topics that are uncomfortable and how an operation can handle that. And sometimes it brings up those sensitive feelings of, can we even handle that as a company? I'm bringing this up because it's that tough conversation with your person who's going to handle the families. You have to have an honest discussion. Can you handle this as it is written in our manual? Are you going to be able to be that person that feels calling that family that has had a tragedy befall them? Okay, that's the first level. And
Yes.
then how are we going to handle the rest of our extended family, which is our flight crews, our dispatchers, our other colleagues that have been attached to those people that they knew? And I'm only bringing this up because it is a very difficult topic. So
Okay.
do you have any thoughts on that? My personal experiences has been like, we're going to need to get somebody outside to come in and help us. Okay.
Yes, we see. You're right. Over on the 121 side, where I came out of, Anne-Marie, we many times engaged third parties to help with that, because you're right. If it does happen, and let's get back to this, we do plan for normal operations. We typically meticulously plan for those normal operations, but it's these abnormal, like Anne-Marie was saying, there's that we don't want to think about. That's probably human nature. We'd rather just be out of sight, out of mind. But, again, that leads to problems. And Anne-Marie, I actually had a real world experience dealing with families when I was with a 121 carrier many years ago. We actually had multiple crashes while I was there. And so I was assigned family members of deceased passengers, and family members of survivors. And so I did get a real world experience, and it is something that you want to make sure that someone's prepared to do that. So there's training that you can go through. And then if there's somebody not already on staff that has that level of abilities, then that is sometimes when you do need to possibly consider the third party, because it was eye-opening. And it was challenging, but again, we did what we had to do in those scenarios. But yeah, it was very eye-opening. So I do recommend you get training, first of all, have somebody that has that background in dealing with families in those type of scenarios. Because yeah, it was not easy, as you can imagine.
Yeah. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways is like, aside from training your ERP in and of itself and getting those lessons learned, making sure that the people who are supporting the ERP are trained and
Yes.
aware of their roles.
So pretty.
So critical. And that is kind of going to lead me into those other people. So if you haven't had a drill with those other people, and the other people I'm talking about are your insurance broker, your insurance underwriter, are they part of your drills? Is your legal representation part of your drills? When you include those entities in it, then first of all, it's putting their world in the scope of what they're responsible for. And you're also bringing about other questions that might come up that you both parties didn't realize needed to be asked.
Great point, Sam Marie. Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot of times where I've seen that overlooked in organizations when they do go to do this exercise is not bringing in, again, all the key players. And really, you go back to your plan, right? And you see what you have written in your plan. And most plans are going to have the financial person and the insurance providers included there. And they are critical because again, when it does occur, you don't think about this now, but then people have got to travel. When you're dealing with families, there's expenses that are going to need to be covered. And of course, that's why it's critical to have your insurance and the financial part definitely a part of any type of drills that you do. Because they're just things you don't think about and it's best to obviously think about them before any worst case scenario happens.
Yeah. I think it's a very important topic. I'm glad we talked about it today. Is there any additional thoughts that you want to convey to our listeners?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Emery, I would just probably close with this. The question isn't if, but it's are we ready? Not if we ready, but are we ready? So you got to get to that point with your emergency response plan. And then I would just say in closing that now is the right time to ask if something happened on your next flight, would your team know exactly what to do without hesitation?
That's exactly what I would say as well. All right. Thank you, Todd, for this topic. And I want to just close out by saying thank you to everyone who is listening, safety managers, flight ops, maintenance, support. Thank you for everything that you do. And stay safe, everybody.
This podcast is brought to you by Portside Safety and Compliance by Baldwin, the leader in safety management for the transportation industry. Since 2004, Baldwin has been providing state-of-the-art solutions and 24/7 support to the aviation and transportation industries. Baldwin's clients include all sizes and types of transportation operators. Baldwin provides safety and related business services to commercial, charter, medical transporters, FBOs, MROs, airports, flight schools, UAS operators, firefighters, OEMs, ground transport operators, and others. Visit baldwinsms.com to discover how Baldwin can enhance your organization's safety program.